Good afternoon. Welcome to the Hingham Municipal Light Board meeting of May 13th, 2025. It's 4 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely or in person, but really remotely, as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Unless somebody speaks up, I'm going to operate on the assumption that no one else is recording. And we come first to the question of election of board officers. Congratulations, Michael, on being reelected to the board overwhelmingly. And welcome back. And I think it's a good practice to consider the board officer situation after every election. So I'm bringing it up to you. My apologies, Tyler. I meant to call you and ask you at a moment, not putting you on the spot, whether you are interested in or would consider chairing the board. I think it's always a good idea to consider moving the chair around. So I don't know if you have thought about that, or am I taking you totally by surprise?
No. I'm happy to go over that now. I think that I would potentially be happy to in the future. I think that when I can get some more time, it would be and better serve that position well, would be a better time than right now.
Okay, Mike?
Likewise, I think.
Okay. All right. So then let me consider now, Mike is currently the co-chair and Tyler is the secretary. I believe that Mike's role is to chair the meeting if I can't be there. And Tyler's role is to sign some things in person sometime. I think
I think it's
that's
once
all
a
it-
year, maybe.
Yeah. And I wondered if anybody if either of you would like to swap your roles, or are you happy with things the way they are?
I'm happy with either of those roles, whatever Mike prefers.
I think just the way it is, it might just be easier to keep the paperwork the same. But as I say,
Probably
I'm
so.
happy in either way.
Okay, well, you're right. That way we don't have to change the letterhead, so. Okay, so in that case, I would entertain a motion to elect the current board members to the same minutes.
The only one I saw was a typo on the last set of minutes, 4-8 on page 8. We had being instead of begin. Just a typo.
Wow. You're
That
good.
was all I could spot.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve those 3 sets of meetings with that one change made.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, Mike?
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Okay, well done. Thank you. Okay, Brianna is going to update us on the discussions about how we might handle board meeting recordings on the internet.
Sure. So right now we post our board meetings on YouTube and on our website. We went through them and we've changed them all to unlisted. So YouTube gives us the option to set videos as unlisted or private as opposed to public. Now the difference is that unlisted, you have to have the link to access the video, and we kept all of the links on our website. So if someone goes to About, they go to the Municipal Light Board, we have a meeting archive page with the link next to the meeting minutes for every recorded meeting. And so we left that up there for now. We thought this was the intermediary step until we had a discussion about whether we wanted to take it the next step, which is to go private with the videos, or to take the links down. So if I set the YouTube to private, we have to put an email address for any individual that wants the video into the YouTube video settings itself, and it sends them the access. And so I'd have to add every employee that wants to access it here. And we would have a list of who exactly has access to that video in that way. But I didn't know if the link was a good intermediary, like leaving the link on the website in terms of like people can still access it. Like if they're, I don't know who's going through the website versus if somebody searches on YouTube for a public meeting that they're looking to, download and do whatever with. So yeah, so I wanted your thoughts on that, about whether we should take it further, remove the links from the website, or even make them private.
But you also host the meetings on our website, right?
We
Or
do, well,
it's only on YouTube?
on our website, they're links to YouTube.
Okay, so that's the only place that we're hosting them, is on YouTube.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, the links are just available on the website. But with the current settings, nobody can find them by searching on YouTube. They have to go to the website and find the link.
I feel like that's not the way AI looks for things on the internet, is by searching for them. It will go to YouTube and just go. And I don't know if a bot has access to the intermediate stage of privacy on YouTube. I don't know how that works. I don't know. Other people have thoughts?
I like the unlisted or private option.
Well, I do too. I'm just wondering if that gets us the security that we're looking for.
And if
I think the
somebody,
private offers a lot more.
if somebody's looking to review the previous meetings and they come to us and say that, and we give them a yes and we put their email address in, then it kind of has pretty tight control, but doesn't limit anybody from anywhere basically coming and asking for permission. But
Okay, that the
would be
private
some-
setting though is the one that takes the email, right?
Yes.
So we don't currently have that. I mean, I think I might favor the private setting. No one is actually entitled by law to be able to go somewhere and view it's a courtesy that we provide for the public, and I'm not sure that, I don't feel like asking for an email address is too intrusive a thing to do.
if you look at the way the town does it for the various committee listservs, you have to go into that program and basically check your email off on any list or committee that you want posting on, and you can control that. So I'm not sure that this is any further than what the town already has.
Are you talking about their email server, their email list, or are you talking about?
Yeah, if you want to get
viewing
an
meetings?
announcement of when a committee meets or.
Okay, yeah, that's just their email list.
Right.
I don't know what they
But you
do in
have
terms
to
of viewing meetings.
You have to subscribe to that. Is really my
Yeah.
But we
point.
just put something on the website that says, if you would like a copy of the YouTube video, you can contact us.
Yes, if you want to go private and you want me to take the links off the website as well, I'll put a contact form, or I'll say email us if you'd like a certain video and tell us what date you'd like the video for, and then they can just reach out before and we'll add them to it.
And they can then, you would be forwarding them the email link?
Yes, yeah, I wouldn't have a
And
link.
it would be a link to YouTube?
It would take them to YouTube. I would have
Mm.
to get their email address and add them as a viewer, and then they'd have to be
Oh.
logged into that specific YouTube account to be able to view the video.
Mhm. So that sounds like work for you. I mean, because there've been, you said there've been like 30 views of recent meetings, and that's a lot for you to interact with personally every single time. That seems like a lot.
I don't mind trying it, but I do think that I would add probably information about the Harbor Media airings of the video because people can just watch it on the local channel too, and that
Mhm.
might help keep requests down. And then I would just need to set something up with our staff I'd need to add our staff to every video.
That sounds really, really onerous.
Is
On
there a way
you,
to set it
me.
up so that if someone requests to view one video, that we can grant them to view all the videos, or is it video by video?
It would be video by video.
Oh,
I can look more into, like, if it's an option with it's on a playlist, so the entire playlist, I could potentially add them to the whole playlist at once.
ideally, you'd want to let people access everything or
That,
nothing.
that might be a way. We want to look into that. And see, I mean, in the meanwhile, I think we all like your interim state that it's in right now, right? And then maybe you could see if you can add people to a playlist to be able to see the whole playlist.
Okay. Right now I still go through the website, I edit it and I add the video link. So it'd be, instead of doing that step over here, I'd just be adding emails on YouTube. So I think time-wise, it might not be too much of a difference, but I'll make sure I can edit the whole playlist first, before I have to go video by video. So we
Yeah,
have 3 years of videos.
Okay. Okay, great. So we'll check in again in a month? Is that what we'll do? Okay, great. Super. Well, thank you for your work on this. I really appreciate it. So we are now down to report on the heat pump forum and the Hingham Lumber Lawn Equipment event. Brianna,
Yes, so
many of us were at the heat pump forum.
Yes, yeah. The heat pump forum was very well attended. We had over 120 attendees and we had 30 volunteers, 4 of which were students from Hingham High School. And the event was on Saturday, March 22nd. We had some lessons learned. The knowledge level of the presentations, I had some feedback from one individual that he had felt like we really didn't go into that heat pump 101, and he wanted a little bit more of the basics of like, how does the heat pump work? And they sort of jumped into the how to get a heat pump a little bit quickly. And so I thought that was insightful. I had asked Abode to kind of gear the room and ask questions when they were at the table because I didn't know if we were going to get, it sounded to me like we had a lot of people there that were already in the middle of heat pump projects. And so they sort of wanted more information about, like, they had already been thinking about it and they don't know how to get to the next step, versus people who had never heard of a heat pump. But I think based on that, we do need to do another like heat pump 101 because we haven't done one of those in a few years now. And I do wish we went a little bit more into the basics for people in case anybody else was lost and just didn't tell us. But then we also, the rebates, we didn't go into the mass save rebates, and that was an oversight on my part, because I should have taken more time, took more time to present the rebates. And we only briefly talked about HMLP's rebate, and because of time, I didn't go into like, if you have natural gas, you should actually go to mass save. We did have a flyer where it had the pathways. So it says, what's your heating type? And if you're natural gas, it has all the mass save steps on it. So I'm hoping people took that flyer, but I did have a lot left over. So I'm not sure if people were confused on that point. Let's see. And then volume, people couldn't quite hear at the beginning, but someone let me know. So after Joe Miskino spoke, we were able to get the volume turned up during Brad after Brad Moyer's section. So like after 2 presentations in, somebody let me know we got the the volume turned up, and I think it was good for the rest of the time. And the registration table, because we had so many people attend, there was a bit of a backlog. So there was a pretty long line. People were waiting. So hopefully people didn't get too frustrated, kind of waiting in line to get in. I think we'd spread that out in the future. And that was actually the same problem Middleborough had at theirs that I had forgotten about, because when you get there, there was a very long line at theirs to get into, which is good. We just were very well attended. We had about 10 or more post-event customer calls from people who were at the event and wanted to take a next step with me on the phone. They had gotten my contact information. That was in the 2 weeks after the event, so I thought that was good. About 45 people registered and did not attend the event. So even though we had over 120 people there, 45 people that were on that original list actually didn't come. So there were more people had seen the event than registered. But a lot of the 45 people have reached out being like, oh, I didn't see the heat pump forum. You know, they want to access the recording. We do have the recording now, so we're going to work on getting that more widely distributed to people. And then we had 1 bag of trash produced, about 3 pounds. But we had about 33 pounds of trash avoided from recycling and compost. So that was good. And overall, it was a really supportive community event. All the food that was served was from local Hingham vendors. We had Peel Pizza, Euromart, Hingham House of Pizza, the Derby Street Whole Foods, and Brewed Awakenings. So everything there was Hingham centric.
Well, how often do you think we should do this?
I don't know. It took a lot to put on. We've been planning it for about a year. I would not expect this to be an annual event. But I do think it could be like a biannual event or something that is repeated every so often. We got a lot of positive feedback from it, and I didn't really get negative feedback from anyone in terms of like, don't do this. So I thought that was good. Yeah, I wouldn't do it every single year though. I think that we have to change up what information we're getting out there, because
Yeah.
I think people like the difference of events, and I thought it was good. We attracted people that weren't the regular, people that show up to things too, which was nice. They were our volunteers, our 30 volunteers.
Do we have a lot of email addresses? Can we follow up with flyers and sort of start the conversation again after a pause?
Yeah, we can do that. I had thought about a post-event survey, but I just didn't get around to that. So we haven't contacted those people yet, but I do have their email addresses. They were taken down by paper on the forms for people who showed up, but then I have the registration forms as well. So I can collect those, and we could send like a post-event message checking in if they've moved forward on their heat pump. Maybe like we'll BCC everyone and do like a one-on-one.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
Great, well done. I was amazed that I knew almost no one who attended the meeting. I thought that was wonderful. That's amazing. Great outreach. Like you said, not the usual suspects. So that is just what we were hoping for.
And it was well attended. I mean, there were
Yeah.
quite a few people there.
Yeah, and a lot of the other heat pump forums that people have been holding, other MLPs have been getting about 30 people to attend. So I was very nervous about low attendance, but I think we did well. I think we advertised it well.
Yeah, you did a terrific job on the outreach. Great. How about the lawn equipment event?
The lawn equipment event is a little bit of a different story. So where are my notes on that? I kept a tally of everybody I talked to. So in terms of like individuals and families, I just consider each group one tally. So people who identified themselves as Hingham customers, I had about 11 groups that I spoke with. And there were about a dozen people who said that they were not from Hingham, and a dozen people who didn't tell me where they were from. So it wasn't, usually we try to aim for like 50 people that we can connect with at an event. So this was a little bit lower than expected. The event was on Saturday, April 26th. And I would say the pouring rain didn't help. It was supposed to be outside, and usually it was the final Scott Saturday at Hingham Lumber. Usually they're very well attended. I actually don't know if I talked about what the event is on the meeting before this, so I will say it was the electric lawn equipment tabling event. So we were at Hingham Lumber just with some information about our electric lawn rebates. And they're the same as Mass Save. So we thought even though Hingham Lumber's in Cohasset, it actually applies to everybody. So we, except like Hull residents, but we were able to get the information out to pretty much everybody that came to the table. And that was good. We still had decent traffic despite the rain and being inside. The staff kept commenting on the attendance that it would have been more if it was good weather. Also a display would have been helpful. So we didn't have a lawn equipment display out. We just had a table with flyers. So people weren't sure what I was there for. A couple of people had questioned it as I was like dragging them over, like, hi, would you like a light bulb? Come over, let's have a conversation. So I think the visual would have helped. And I think the people I talked with at Hingham Lumber, their staffing's different on the weekends. So I didn't know the people that were there. They didn't know me. A little bit of confusion, but I do think I'd like to see more tabling at Hingham Lumber because of the traffic that they have there. People were interested in the lawn equipment. I did leave a stack of flyers at Hingham Lumber with all the rebate info, but I've had someone reach out to me to say that they actually went to Hingham Lumber to see if they would give them the flyer, and they actually didn't mention the flyer. They didn't mention any rebates. So that I think that takes more outreach. So we need to connect with them and see like what's going on, see if they'll let us come back, or I'd like to see volunteers actually doing that tabling rather than me there with using like staff time, only because I don't know if it was worth the money it costs for me to be there, even though I'll table all day. Like I love it. I enjoy being out and talking to people, but I think in terms of like cost for that, it might be better to find volunteers that want to be there.
I expect maybe some people on the outreach committee of the Climate Action Commission might be willing to volunteer.
And I think Hingham Lumber would let them. I think they were really into the idea of us being there, and they didn't have someone repping their own table, so I was kind of repping all of it. So I think they probably need people. I think it supports what they're doing and supports what we're doing.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments? Thanks for
for your
doing
efforts
that.
on that, Brianna.
Hmm?
Thanks for your efforts on that.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Okay, thanks very much. So Brianna, you were going to fill us in on the meme customer satisfaction survey, which are all the light plants doing this?
Not all of them. I believe there are 8 MLPs that have signed on for it. So we are paying into the statewide survey that they're doing. But I think they are going to survey the entire state anyways. So I wish more MLPs had signed on, but every MLP that signed on, we're sharing the overall cost. And so what they're doing is Great Blue Research is gathering 400 statewide responses from IOU customers, 400 responses from MLP customers, and then we are doing an oversample where they will gather 400 Hingham specific responses. So we'll be able to compare how electric utility customers are feeling on the state level versus how they're feeling at an MLP level and versus how they're specifically feeling in Hingham, which I think is going to be a really great comparison. We're going to get a lot of good information out of this. The statewide survey is already out in fielding, but they're going to do Hingham directed fielding for the survey starting in June, potentially late May, but definitely into early June. So we're going to send it out in our June flyer. We're going to put it on social media, and we'll send out a couple of emails to people.
So is it a thing where we notify people this is happening, click this link if you want to participate? Is that how it's going to work? Okay.
Yes, it'll be an entirely digital survey, so there won't be any phone calls happening. People will have a QR code they can scan, or they can click on a link. And then Yeah, we'll see how it goes. There were some technical issues the last time we did a survey. People were getting kicked out of it because once we had their IP address, like if they ever opened it, they could never go back into it. So this time, we're gonna take all the responses, but then Great Blue's just gonna only take one, like the most complete one from an IP address. And that'll help us. And there's a lot of questions in it too, like if you're not the head of household, if you're not the one paying the electric bill, you're gonna get kicked out of the survey. They're gonna say, thank you very much. But we're looking for the person that's paying the electric bill. You know, who is our ratepayer? So there's a lot of questions like that in the survey that where a lot of responses might be pushed out of what we actually see as the final result. But we'll collect everything that people send in. There's a lot of questions too. They're going to be asked to rate characteristics, their satisfaction, their different preferences for communication and energy programs, you know, power restoration. And then we have custom questions that we can put into our survey. So right now the custom questions focus on water service because we're taking in the customer service for Hingham's water department, and whether or not a customer supports that idea. The customer portal, whether they'd be interested in having an ability to pay their bill electronically. And then some website questions. How do you visit the website? Are you satisfied with it? What do you want to see more of? And then the HERP transmission project. So we give a description of what it's going to entail. We ask them if they're familiar with it. You know, how do they feel about it? And what information do they need to understand it better? So those are the custom questions we put in. There were a lot of existing questions that we would have added if they weren't in there, like renewable energy content, a variety of energy programs that were
So
on.
we're gonna get those questions anyway, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if Tom would like, I can send you all the draft of the survey that we have.
Oh, yeah, sure, we can do that, yep.
That'd be
I think a
fun.
lot of this is kind of promoting the work that the municipal light plants are doing and you know, trying to compare them to the investor-owned utilities and, you know, where we are in comparison.
Good to have data on that for sure.
So we're gonna promote it within Hingham and on our bills. What if we get more responses than 400?
They're going to randomly select 400 of the complete responses. So they won't, as soon as we hit 400, they're not gonna like stop accepting responses. They'll keep collecting them, but then from that pool, they're gonna select 400 so that we have an even comparison.
Okay. If we wanted to get, say we get 1,000 responses, could we get access ourselves to those 1,000 responses?
I will follow up with them to be sure. I don't think they were clear they wouldn't include those in their like report analysis
Right,
that they
right,
give us
yeah.
because keeping it to 400 helped keep the costs down. But I don't see why they couldn't give us the data of everything that was collected because they have it.
Do you know,
Okay.
do you remember how many responses we got in the last survey, Brianna?
Just under 800.
Yeah, okay.
And that was also done by Blue Circle.
Great blue, yeah,
Big
yeah.
Blue, yeah.
I think we had gotten about 300 to 400 in the first day of the survey, so I'm not too worried about a lack of response.
Right.
And it's
Great.
been a while since we did the last one, so it's not
Mhm.
like right on the heels of the last one, so.
And we'll be buying the public power data source. So this survey will make us eligible for the public power satisfaction awards that the American Public Power Company gives out to utilities. So a lot of our MLP siblings out in Massachusetts participate in those awards and typically always get the awards. And we're confident that we have good satisfaction here.
They don't just pick one MLP, right? They have some kind of a standard, and if you hit it, you get the award. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Any other questions, comments? Thanks very much. Looking forward to that a lot. So at this point, we return to the presentation that we had at the last meeting from the Spiegler Group. It was quite the fire hose of information. And the question before us now is, I guess perhaps I should have expected this, but to me, I mean, there was, well, it was a marketing opportunity for them, let's put it that way. And they're looking to be a consultant for us as we conduct all of these moves towards modernizing our grid. So I wanted first to ask Tom what his opinion or Mark is about this.
So, I think almost everything on his list are things that we have talked about internally and kind of is the plan that we have anyway.
Mhm.
I think they could add some value. Like, so for instance, we've talked about going to a different enterprise system. We have a good idea of where we want to go with that. So I don't think he would offer much in that realm. But when we get to the AMI, I think maybe he would be helpful in, helping us put together an RFQ and an RFP and getting, different people involved and helping us get that information and sort through it to come up with the best option for Hingham. And again, I think he does offer some benefits in different areas, but I think we'd have to be selective. I don't think we would be hiring the Spiegler Group just to to work with us on a monthly basis to do some of these projects.
Mhm.
Specific ones, yeah, they could be beneficial, but I think we could look around too also to see who else is out there that's done this type of stuff.
It had crossed my mind that we might want to get a consultant to help us write that RFP for the AMI meters for sure.
For sure, yeah.
And then the thing that impressed, I feel like their message was, you'll end up collecting all this data, but if you don't take advantage of the data to inform your future progress forward,
Yeah.
then you've wasted a lot of money. And I don't know how many different ways they point that, they had a list of about maybe 8 things and 2 of which didn't make sense, but the rest of them they thought should go in these directions. I don't know how many of those things did you think we could use their help with, or do we just largely, except for the meters, go it on our own?
So the meters, I think they could help us with, when we get to the time of use. I think they could be helpful there,
Mhm.
figuring out where that time of use rate should be but I think, a group like that did the grade study would also be helpful in that realm. He talked about, the fizzer and, I don't think we need any help there.
Mhm.
So it was really, and when I think about it, it's really those 2 things is that probably the time of use and in the AMI. Well, Mark,
I mean, are they qualified to do a whole rate study thing
I
the
don't think,
way
yeah, I don't
the
think
other
they're
guys
qualified.
did?
I don't think that's what they
Yeah.
do. I think they could look at maybe how to structure that AMI rate, but I think, to be honest with you, I think, utility financial services would better service or someone in that type of thing to set those rates. And I think it would be helpful though, and, again, if you have an AMI system, you're collecting a lot of data and being able to have a way to make that data useful, was key.
One question I have is if they're gonna help us write an RFP for the AMI meters, or help us figure out what enterprise system to get, that's gonna involve the water department as well. And I don't know how well situated they are to pull the water department's needs into their analysis. Do they do water?
I think they've done, he talked about different utilities that he's worked with that have multiple services,
Mhm.
whether it be water, gas, internet, fiber,
Mhm.
that type of thing. So they do have some experience with that.
Mhm.
Question,
Okay.
my understanding before we had them come talk to us was that, and maybe I'm misremembering, but one of the reasons was that they were somehow adept in the in space of navigating sort of the state and federal grants that we might want to apply for that would help us pay for some of these infrastructure upgrades that might support, more distributed generation and other policies that the state and federal government might be wanting to subsidize. Um, is that true, or am I was that someone else we were supposed to talk to?
No, that's true. And I think if we were to hire them to help us with the, again, whatever it is, AMI or whatever we decide to hire them for, they will go out and look to see if they can find funds, grants available to help us defray the cost of those programs. But again, it would be part of their job if we hire them as a consultant.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important to benchmark what's out there in terms of the AMI technologies as it continually evolves. But we also want to be cognizant of what data we're going to collect, how we're going to process that data, and what decisions and savings we can expect. And I think it's important that we look at what our peers are doing. And probably one of the ways to do that is to talk to the consultants out there that are in that space. And they're obviously one of them.
Yeah, and I think, that's one of the benefits of using them is for them to set some KPIs for us and so we are getting the full benefit of whatever system we do decide to go with.
That did seem to be their main focus. It's making sure that you use all that data that you're going to get in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And it's clear that it has to be power and water. A system that can go back and forth and combine both of those data sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
just,
Yeah, Mark.
from what I got from it, I mean, obviously, Tom and I, we've been talking about quite a few things here, and I think the way he approached it with the sequential of how we should be attacking things, like, obviously the AMI is big, right? Not just time of use, but to get that customer information, but we also talked about, there's a lot of data. We actually had a meeting with up at Analog Devices, they had a presentation talking about what kind of data we're looking from just an operational standpoint, with the voltage and to the transformer, to the recloser, so there's gonna be a lot, but I think it just validated some of the things that we've been talking about. So it was nice to hear that we're on at least the right path of what we're looking to do.
Mhm. Oh, that's good. Okay, so we will thank them for their services and you will give them a ring when you're ready,
We're ready.
ready to move to the next step. Is that the idea?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, great. Any other comments or thoughts on this topic before we move on? Seeing none, I think we're up to the financials.
Okay, I'll share my screen. I can do this.
It's sharing the Zoom pop-up instead of your screen.
Okay. Let me stop sharing. Try it again. No, it's that better.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So we can make it a little bigger.
Great.
Yeah, so February we had, I don't have, unfortunately, I don't have the March financials. Joan is still waiting on something for the March numbers. And we should have it by the end of the week, hopefully, so, but as far as February goes, obviously a colder month, was colder winter. So our kilowatt hour sales were up. Our net income for the month was negative $180,000. We do make a large payment for the Watson plant every February, so
Mm.
that factors in there. And we did drop the PCA in January, so that also factors in there. So year to date, $380,000. In speaking with Joan, she feels that we're on track to be, right around the 8% based on our budget for 25. So financially, we don't see any issues right now at this point.
Okay, looks good. Any other comments or questions?
Tom, do you think those numbers are indicative just of the cold weather? Or are we
Again,
using more power per family, or are heat pumps making some penetration? What's your thought there?
I think it was just a colder winter. I mean, again, when we look at our our growth over the last 10 years, it's been pretty flat. So we haven't seen that spike in usage really. I'm sure there's some of it in there, right? Some people have moved to heat pumps, but I don't think we've seen the growth that we're expecting yet. I think eventually we'll get there, but
So you don't see
it's just a colder winter. Yeah.
You don't see an uptick, so to speak.
Not really. Yeah. No, again, I would look at, we had problems with transformers being overloaded or anything, or voltage issues, and we haven't had any of those. Typically we get those in the summertime,
Mhm.
but we haven't seen anything like that in the winter.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, if there are no other thoughts or comments, we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
And just on
Yeah.
kind of on the financials,
Uh-huh.
for next month, the audit should be completed by next month. So my plan would be to have the auditors on the board meeting in June.
Okay. That'll be great. Thanks very much. I love this ability to stop somebody else's sharing. It's time to move on. The power is just going to my head. I'm sorry. So we're up to the updates, transmission line project, capital projects. Anything else we need an update on, Tom?
The transmission line, so the replacement of the insulators on the transmission line. We have a pre-bid meeting tomorrow with the contractors. So we finally got the license from the T, and we have put that out to bid. Or we have all the documents to put it out to bid. We have a pre-bid meeting with the contractors tomorrow afternoon to go over that, and we're shooting to do that work in October at this point. So see where the pricing comes in. As far as the capital projects, we're working on down on Pleasant Street, reconductoring down in that area. That project's going pretty well. And our capital program is on track to be completed by the end of the year.
And are we now just waiting to hear from the Energy Facility Siting Board? Is there any activity in the big project
So
area?
we did get some feedback from them. They're probably looking at doing discovery sometime this summer, in the summer timeframe. So again, I think we go through the discovery period. They'll look for the Weymouth and others that are involved in the project for feedback from them. And then I guess this whole process will go on for, about another year. Well, we might get some approval by next, a year from the summer, but I guess it's just a long, drawn out process.
Okay, great. Is there, I don't know of any other unforeseen business that needs to come up. So I will move to the next item on the agenda, which is we're going to have an executive session. I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session, not to return to public session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, for the purpose of conducting a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. So, someone make that motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Tyler?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Thank you for joining us, everyone. If
Thank you.